When's the last time you've examined your head and to see if there's any parasites living inside of it? There's an interesting video on YouTube, which I'll leave the link for, that talks about fire ants that are invading southeast United States. And one of the ways they've figured out to help fight the plague is to have these little microscopic flies that will fly down and land inside the ant's head and set up home there. And it is a parasite, but it's a parasite that eventually kills its host. So it'll feed off the brain of the ant and lay its larva, and eventually the head will fall off and the larva will feast on the brains of the ant. Yes, it sounds grotesque. While I was watching this video, I couldn't help but think how many parasites we have roaming and living and feasting off our energy, our mind, our soul, our spirit, whatever you want to call it. And we think it's normal. It's what we accept as normal, as status quo, is astounding. And it's because whatever you're raised with, whatever environment you're exposed to, and what you see around you, you see other people acting neurotic and having all these, thoughts that cause them trouble, stress, and worry, and fear. You think, oh, that's just how people are. It's just a natural way of being. And every now and then you meet a person that has just a sense of tranquility, despite situations. We, as human beings, we almost feel like we need these parasites. We need this tension in our mind in order to function properly. It acts as a motivation to help us live out our lives and get things accomplished. And what I'm proposing is that it actually defeats us, and it slowly kills us. There's been studies that they interviewed elderly people and they asked them why do they live to such a ripe old age, a healthy ripe old age? And it was really surprising what the results were. Most people would say, well, the first thing is exercise, the second thing is the foods that you eat. But this wasn't the case. The number one factor they found was attitude and state of mind. We don't realize that we have parasites living within us that are actually subtracting the amount of time we're going to spend on Earth. It's like a slow suicide, slowly killing us. And it's something that, most people don't talk about because everyone has them. It's rare that you meet the person that lives from a different space. Most of us live from here. Most of us absorb the neuroses of the world and the fears and the problems and the stresses. And when we try to accomplish something, get a better job, get more money, get ahead in the world, have people like us, there's all these things that we want to accomplish. We want this end result. Anytime you want or are attached to an end result, you're going to suffer. You're going to force yourself to act in an inauthentic way. You're going to force yourself to be stressed. You're going to force yourself to worry because the world is chaotic. The world is not, there's no guarantees, and it's very stormy weather. Sometimes things go well, sometimes things go bad, and we think we have this big basket, like trick-or-treating and Halloween. We have this big bag and we take it around to life and we say, okay, I need put this piece of candy in my bag so I can be happy. Put this one. And we knock on all these people's doors and opportunities and situations and try to get the candy. And we're constantly looking for candy. I want to be happy. I need to be happy, and I need this and I need to do that, and this needs to happen, and blah blah blah. And so that it creates this inner parasite, this inner turmoil that just feasts upon us. What's the alternative? The alternative is taking that candy bag and saying, you know what? It's internal. I don't need all these external things that I've been conditioned to believe in order to feel a sense of peace, security, safety, comfort, I can take and channel that energy that I was losing. That was just kind of the shotgun approach within the externally in the world, and I can channel that energy inward. Not in some hokey pokey, new agey way, but just feeding your own soul, independent of what happens in the external world. It's a completely revolutionary way to live one's life. And there's no way you can make the transition overnight. It has to start with small things. Very, very small things. And you could start with foods. You could start with the people's you're needing approval of other people. You could start with finances, feeling like you need a certain amount of money to feel safe, secure, happy. You could start with your physical appearance, thinking that you need to look a certain way. And you could just start listening and seeing that the compass within, and your life is guided by that. And there's just a real sense of peace and tranquility and confidence. A lot of our running around with all these parasites is just insecurity. And human beings naturally have this fight mechanism activated when we feel fear. And then it's like a survival mechanism that's prehistoric that no longer applies today, because generally we're going to have food, we're going to have shelter, we're going to have water for the majority of the Western world. From the majority of people that are able to watch this on a computer. Once those needs are taken care of, everything else is like the cherry on top. But we think the cherry is the means for our survival, or the means for our existence, and it's just not the case. So the secret is just becoming good listeners, not external listeners, not listening to the pulse of family, friends, society, culture, what people tell us is the correct way to guide or direct our lives, but it's that inner pulse. And it's that pulse that just kind of beats within us that we no longer are attuned to, because as we're young and we're being conditioned on what it means to be human, how to behave, it doesn't benefit other people to teach us to go within and let that be our guide or the star that we follow. It helps people to teach us not to trust our inner compass. It helps other people to control us, to doubt and be dependent on external things. So our whole life it's an outwardness and a living outside of ourselves that causes all this stress, worry, and fear. And it's relationships. I need this relationship to be happy. The list can go on and on of all the requirements one needs to be happy. And realize all things in the material world are unstable, are crumbling, are chaotic, are relatively uncontrollable, and are an illusion. The illusion is that we need those things in order to be happy. So listening within, and it's like kind of, getting to know someone new. You have to spend time with them to get to know them, and it takes years and years. We don't spend that same time with ourselves. We don't spend that same time in quietness, in just listening, in just stillness. In nature is a good way to activate that make that pulse stronger, so it's audible, and we can hear it, and we can follow it, and we can just know it like a best friend. It's like getting to know a best friend. So it takes an unplugging of the world, and it takes, just taking a bath and listening, just sitting somewhere and doing nothing, listening to music, going in nature. You know what environment helps you to activate this inner compass and to be able to follow it. And once we spend time and exercise this, it becomes a strong muscle that we're no longer dependent, and we can get rid of the parasites. Thanks for listening.